I'm Lisa Carr. I own Goosehead Insurance here in Pittsburgh. Goosehead is an insurance agency that is real estate industry focused. So I work with realtors like yourselves, lenders like Dave. We work with people who are in the home buying process. We are sort of like a broker. I've got 25 different carriers that I work with. So what we do is we shop the customer's insurance to all the carriers that we work with. We're looking for the best coverage for your customers at the most competitive rate. We do try to bundle everything so that we're saving them money. When we do home and auto together, that's usually the best bet for them.
My name is Marino Harris with Settlements Limited. We are a local closing company. We specialize in residential and commercial real estate closings. I'm a licensed title agent. We write title insurance through First American and Fidelity Title Insurance. Been in the business, well, I don't know, coming up on like 20 years, so a lot of experience with all kinds of different closings and title issues.
Hello, my name is Bob Owen, and I own Owen Appraisal Service. We just celebrated our 25-year anniversary this past April. We have 6 appraisers covering 5 counties in western Pennsylvania. We are primarily a residential appraisal firm, and we've been working with Holland Mortgage for many, many years. And pretty much we've seen everything you're going to come across as far as a listing or a sale or some kind of hitch in a transaction that's valuation related. And I'm open to any questions you probably have.
Dave Holland with Holland Mortgage. I've been doing it for almost 19 years. We're not the biggest company there. We're pretty large. There's 40 of us total and about 15 loan officers. So yeah, we're local here in Robinson. Thanks everyone for coming on again.
Every one of us handles personal information. I know we have been trying to, over the years, be very proactive and maybe ahead of the curve of what the industry standard is. How we obtain that information is really important. We use a portal now, so it's a secure login with dual authentication, so your clients are asked to do that to supply us information. It goes directly into our software that is secured or stored securely off-site, so that information is never passed through unsecured websites or emails or sending us a PDF with that information. We really try to get away from that. And not only that, we also do inter-staff training. We send out phishing emails to our employees. We do things with fake emailing to them, training about cybersecurity, all things that I think, whether you're using our closing company or not, you should be asking them how they're obtaining that information from your clients, how they're storing it. Do they do any proactive training in-house to make sure that they're not getting hacked or having phishing emails? You can never prevent everything, but you do have to be proactive. And if you're not doing it and being proactive, I think that they should start or should look for another company that they're giving their personal information to.
What Marino said, we do all those items too. We spend a lot of money on cybersecurity. But on the mortgage side, and this is shocking to me in 2019, a lot of lenders don't have, even very large banks, don't have a secure portal. So we tell people not to email us W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns. We have a secure upload that we have to go out to our server and download. We tell people never ever email us just their W-2s unsecured. But I'd probably say 75% of local mortgage companies do not have that. So that's something to consider too.
There's a lot of issues with the appraisal that you probably wouldn't think about that are mortgage industry related on privacy. As far as personal information goes, we are personally in their home. So we probably experience the greatest degree of exposure. And when we collect our information, the mortgage industry now wants a photograph of every room. So every photograph has to be taken in a way that won't have things in it like crucifixes on a wall, family photos in a family room. And we have to blur these things out in the photograph oftentimes because the underwriter will be looking for some anonymity with regard to every image. Now, our guys, we have our own network in the office itself, but we prefer to go hardwire instead of wireless, just for that little bit of a feeling that within the building somebody can't tap our Wi-Fi. When these guys work from home, we have our own virtual private network. So it's all password protected to get into work on assignments. And the uniform standards of practice and many of the banking rules, when we try to solicit somebody like, I want to do work for First National Bank, we have to produce work samples. But every bit of information that we acquired at the time that we went to the house is private and confidential. So we take the entire appraisal, and this may sound ridiculous, but anywhere the address is listed on every page is a header. That address is taken out. The client we did the job for is taken out. The legal description is taken out. The photographs are removed of the subject. They're still in for the comps because that was public information. And you'll have a sketch of the floor plan. You'll have an appraisal, but if the point is, if I hand you that appraisal, you wouldn't know what house we were appraising. So we have to generate these anonymous work samples every time we try to get business from a bank. So there's a heavy duty layer. We call it Big Brother. Big Brother's here in the mortgage business, and he's really in the appraisal game.
And for real estate agents, I mean, that's what big data is. When I travel around the country and I hear all these things that are happening, isn't that what Zillow is doing, right? I mean, they're taking all the data of everybody else's stuff, so they're holding on to same kind of a principle. And at the end of the day, who owns the data is the one who ends up winning, because they have that much deeper way that they can go look into it. So from all aspects of it, totally agree with your comment, but it's happening really across the board. The other thing that when it comes to security is, that's corporate. For individual, if you've never heard of a website called PWNED, have I been pwned? PWNED. I Google PW, not OW, but have I been PWNED? What it does is it says, plug in your email address and we will search the black web for your email address, and we will let you know if you personally have been hacked.
So, I mean, first of all, I get it that people wait until the end to do the insurance. I was a realtor for 12 years before I got into insurance 8 years ago, so I've been in your shoes. But getting it done early in that contingency period is important in case something comes up. One very common thing that we see issues with in Pittsburgh, houses with knob and tube wiring. It's here, the houses are old, a lot of times there's nothing you can do about it. The majority of insurance carriers will not touch knob and tube wiring. It's considered a safety hazard. The good news is, if you work with a broker like myself and you've got different carriers to take it to, we do have the ability to shop it around, and there's a little bit of flexibility with some of those carriers. So we can get coverage in those circumstances. The good thing with flood, we don't see a lot of flood issues in terms of insurance here, but as of July 1st, the law changed, and lenders are now required to not require FEMA flood insurance. Private flood insurance is required to be accepted starting July 1st. That can save your customer a couple $1,000s sometimes.
Even for FHA?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
That's what I've been told.
Because we've been using private carriers for a while, but we didn't realize FHA, we thought FHA was...
That's what I've been told, that it's across the board. I'll send you the article because I
Wow.
posted the link the other day.
We tell our customers they need to have their insurance in place within 2 weeks. Doesn't always happen, but we tell them and we kind of ride them about it, because we don't want stuff to creep up at the last second.
Yeah, and probably one of the other big things is if you've got somebody whose ratios are tight in terms of qualifying, and they go to their carrier that they've been with for 20 years and they come back with a $1,400 home insurance premium, and now they don't qualify for the mortgage because that number's too high. Again, that's a benefit of being with an agency that has the ability to shop it around. We've got 2 carriers specifically who don't run credit in terms of insurance, because that is something that affects insurance rates, is someone's credit. If their ratios are tight, chances are their credit is not phenomenal, and those carriers end up being very competitive for them.
About, almost 10 years ago now, they came out with something called the Home Valuation Code of Conduct, and it was like the 10 Commandments.
HVCC, for those
Exactly.
acronyms.
Exactly. That HVCC was adopted into the Dodd-Frank law. Dodd-Frank covers a myriad of financial markets, but as it relates to the mortgage industry, it put a barrier between Dave the lender and Bob the appraiser, because we're buddies. We're sharing a bourbon at the bar after work, blah, 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 blah. Hey, my buddy,
Before
blah,
this.
blah, 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 blah. Right, right. I don't have to buy him anything anymore. Because he can't fire me. No, that's not true. He can fire me.
But your example's not good because he's never been to a bar, so we gotta be able to use that language back.
Okay,
Well, keep on.
we went golfing and I'm giving him strokes left, and I'm ignoring all those kicks out from under the tree. But I'm getting off track. My point is that
You can call it.
you can call the appraiser. In fact, I'll even go so far as, and I hope I don't upset anybody in this room, showing time sucks,
It does, I agree.
upset me with that. Okay?
I agree.
I'm gonna tell you right now, don't you wanna be a little bit in control of what's going on? Don't you wanna have some contact with the appraiser? When I get an order, and here's what we do, it's simple. We get the order, we go to the MLS, we print it out, we print out real lists, we print out Allegheny County sketch, map, plat, everything. We know everything before we call somebody to go out to see the house. We're pre-competent. You know, split entry in Moon Township. We're running all the split entries in Moon Township in the last 6 months. We're also looking at the map to see what's in that plan. We're printing them out because we got to take photos of them. We don't waste our time. I'm not going to go out to the house one day and go back out 3 days later because then I'm slower than the next guy. We're prepped and we're going to do it the whole time we go out there. So we're doing all this preparation. When I go to schedule the appointment to get in and it says showing time, I'll be like, all right, you call showing time, blah, blah, blah. You do get a reply timely back that says, yes, you're approved to go in there Monday at 10 o'clock with your lockbox key. That's great. But you have never talked to me. You know what I mean? And I think you oftentimes need to get ahead of the appraisal before it happens. And the most popular question I get from realtors is, should I give the appraiser comps? And the answer is absolutely. Just give them good comps. Don't give them crazy stuff. Give them real comps. In the plan, similar houses, 6 months ago, that kind of stuff. And leave that for the appraiser when he gets there, because I'll come out and I'll see something in that envelope that I didn't bring with me. I'm at least gonna go take a picture of it. And it's in my head as in the data pool. So I always think you should get in front of it. You should have some communication with the appraiser. And there's no law that says a realtor can't call the appraiser. Okay. So check this out. Urban, half mile, suburban, 1 mile, rural, 5 miles. Okay? Now, in theory, rural is, you should be self-sufficient. You should have a defibrillator at your house, you should have a big tank to put your own fire out, and plenty of weapons. So,
Nunchucks?
so, see what I mean? Like rural used to mean rural, okay? Nowadays, people like to throw rural at the term because it'll still be acceptable to the mortgage industry to be bought and all this other stuff. But they permit you, if you designate the location as rural, and we do, they permit you to go as far as 5 miles. Everybody wants to last 6 months, but they'll take a year. What we do, and what any appraiser should do, is there's not just 3 sales, there's 5 sales in a listing, okay? And all of a sudden there's this uncomfortable range of value where, let's say you're selling something on 30 acres in Devil's Den Road, Burgettstown, PA, okay? Well, it's right up against the border with West Virginia, so all of a sudden the circle around your property is cut off because the appraiser has to explain what would be a competitive location for that property. And you know, you go to Hanover and Beaver County, you can go to West Alexander, you can go to Avella, you can go to I'm naming all these places, whether you know where they're at or not. The fact is, you've got to extend your geographic boundary, and you have to explain it in the appraisal as why. And then you have to add more data than just 3 sales. And if you give the reader of the report a bigger picture, and you do see some kind of range shrink from 250 to 475, and they all came into the low mid 3s, 3 to 350, and it all kind of that's how you put it together. But you are allowed to extend your boundaries for your data search to about 5 miles.
Thank you.
We'll go as high as 20 sometimes, so there's
Yeah.
limited comps, which
20.
Sometimes,
is more, I mean, and that's what happens in the country.
yeah. I did one on East Bow in South Strabane that had a horse operation, They had a 200-foot indoor arena, they had 16 stalled stables, they had, 16 acres fenced, they had another 7 acres, blah, all this stuff. If you're gonna try and get a bushel of apples together, I look in the whole county first. And, you got all this stuff out there, and you call the agents, you talk to them about the features of the property, what was the number one selling feature, what was the number one detraction. You whittle that list of 12 down to 6, put all 6 in the report, and let it wash out at underwriting. Now,
A year is a hard deadline, though. We won't look at much beyond a year.
Right.
20-ish
You're-
miles in a year.
yeah, your primary 3 should be within a year, and then you try to support it. You might have something that's 2 miles away, which is really great in a rural area, but it was 20 months ago. They don't like that. But also, he has multiple funding sources, so he may have a funding source that's okay with those deals. You go through a certain bank, and they may just have a viewpoint that is this, and they won't even touch it.
Yeah, it depends. At banks, a lot of times they'll use an appraisal management company, which they sometimes go to the lowest bidder and the quickest. But at Holland Mortgage, we have a panel, depending on the area. If it's like, say, Allegheny County, we have 6 appraisal firms, where, like Bob, I've known the owners for a decade or more, and we just use those people. Now, if we're in Harrisburg or Philly, we're using an AMC, but if it's local, I only use my people.
That's for conventional, not FHA.
Both,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
FHA and conventional. VA, no one has control. The VA assigns an appraisers. Bob is a VA appraiser.
Right.
So yeah, we only have 8 or 9 appraisal firms total going all the way up to Somerset County. If it's North Butler, we'll have a couple people up there. If it's really southern Washington or close to West Virginia, we'll have people down there. But I don't use randoms, but I'd probably say 85% of the mortgage companies do. So you could have Joe from West Newton do an appraisal in Cranberry. Not that Joe doesn't know the market, but
Yeah,
still
but
it's,
it sucks.
yeah. Plus if it comes in low, Joe could be the best appraiser. They're say, this guy's from West Newton, he's not from Cranberry. So we only use locals.
The appraisal is a time fee relationship. The more time it's gonna take to do the job, the more the fee, okay?
We know that up front as a mortgage company. If it's in,
You would think so, right?
Right.
and a lot of times if there is an error, like I have one that's closing on Friday, and I didn't realize it was on 15 acres and it was all the way out in Newstand, and the appraiser wanted $550 instead of our standard fee of $388. I just ate it. I wasn't gonna go back to, because I should have done some more due diligence.
I agree.
So we always do stuff
We
like that.
sometimes do that too, where we'll get a request and my office will process it and build a folder and print all the stuff out and put it in the computer and start a file here and assign it to Dave because he does Butler, blah, 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 blah. And then he goes out to the property and says, whoa, wait a minute, did you know that this was this, this, and this? And we'll be like, no. And you'll go back to the client and say, hey, is there any room for, and some clients, like Dave, will have foresaw this problem, and they might have collected 6 instead of 4, and there's room there, and we'll say, we need 8, and they said, well, we collected 6. We'll say, all right, we'll take the 6, which is more than the 4 we would have normally done it for, or whatever. I'm throwing these numbers around fast and loose. But, yeah, it's definitely, it's not standardized.
You should also look at the property in the MLS, if it's a multi-unit or if it's very unique.
Yeah, we
a
catch
lot
it
of
right away.
acreage. Yeah.
Yeah, we catch it right away.
Yeah, the appraisers.
Plus, you might have had a situation where their panel was small. Let's say they had a panel of, well, if it's rural, they may be using an AMC, which is appraisal management company, and they'll have 40 appraisers, individuals who work out of their home or firms that have 4 or 5 people working at them. And it may come down to the person who was willing to take the trip, said, I'll do it for this. So that's when they came back and said, we've had a bid here that is causing a bigger fee.
I appreciate that.